Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to oil your antique fan. This video is mostly for beginners because if you're an experienced fan collector or have quite a few in your collection, chances are you already know how to or you have your own way. But I have a couple of my fans back here. I got an Emerson and I got a Robbins and Myers back here that I'm going to be showing you what I like to do and how I oil or service my fans. So let's get set up over here and let's get started. All right, here we have a mid to late 1920s, I believe, Robbins and Myers. This is an oscillating model brass blade fan. I've touched up on this on one of my last videos, but I will show you how I actually do it. Some fans like this, get a closer view. Some fans have an oil cup that has a wick inside. The wick is replaceable. They are actually available, but what I have done and what I have been doing is I wash and clean out as best I can the old wick, and then I refill it with some zoom spout oil, which I will grab in a second and show you. And then after the wick is dry, I fill the cup back up and put the oil back in it and put it back in, and it's good to go. Now I'm going to take off the grease cup, the oiling cup right there. They just unscrew. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to take off if they haven't been messed with in a while. I did pre-loosen this one, but you can see this wick is very, very dirty, and inside here it's very nasty. So I will be using a pick to scrape the stuff out of the cup, and I will be cleaning this out probably in my sink. Going to be getting rid of all that nasty grease. So let's get this cleaned up. I got a little pick right here, and it doesn't look like that's going to work. There we go. I got a little flathead out right here. See, that is some nasty stuff. Very nasty. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring y'all inside with me and get this cleaned out. I'm probably just going to put a little bit of soap in here and stick some tissue in there and kind of stuff it in there, and then just turn it really good to get all that cleaned out. So I will see y'all in a second. All right, I have a bin of water right here. Filled this up with hot water from my sink. Here is the old cup. I just stuff the tissue in. I've done this a couple of times already and gotten the bulk of everything out. Then I just twist it a few times. And then that's not actually that bad. See if I can get my flashlight in here. You can actually see it pretty good. That's actually very nice in there. Looks very good. Okay, now let's move to the fun part. I take it and then I just completely soak it in the soap. Then I just work it back and forth. Kind of move the wick around as much as possible. I'm gonna have to do it a few times. My watch is waterproof, but let me go ahead and take my watch off so I don't get it dirty. Okay, yeah, there we go. I can see the water. I can see the water pulling out of it and going back in, so that will, looks like it's cleaned up good enough to receive the new oil going through it. Just squeeze it in a paper towel. It's not perfect, but if you're on a budget or you're just trying to get it going, this will work fine. Now let me go get my oil and I will show you how to refill it. All right, here we are with the zoom spout oil. What's nice about the zoom spout, get the camera back a little bit. What's nice about the zoom spout is that it has a really long straw inside that allows you to put the oil upside down and then squeeze the bottle gently to precisely put the oil exactly where you want it. Like on this Robbins and Myers, it has an oiling port on top right here and on the back. You take off the red cap, put it on the holder right there so you don't lose it, and then with the screw out, you just feed it to the port and then squeeze the oil down in. Same thing with the back. Now let's get back down here to the oil cup and let's fill it up. And you do have to take into account, you can't fill it all the way up to the brim because you do have all of this right here that goes down in here. So you have to leave room for the wick to take up some of the space. And looks like that's about perfect. What I like to do when it's a fresh oil change in this cup is to put some of the oil on the wick and let it soak in and drip down. And that's ready to go back in. Let's get the fan over here and we'll thread it back in. Sometimes the wicks can be a little bit crazy to gain access to. That just pushes up in there. And threads on. Now you don't want to grab pliers on this and then tighten it down as tight as it'll go, because then you won't be able to get it off easily when you need to service it again. But just finger tight is perfectly fine. And when I do work on this fan, I will do the same treatment to this back oil cup right here. Sometimes fans have one, sometimes they have two. Sometimes they have an oiling port like this one does at the back with a little spring lid. Make sure this one actually has it. Yeah. Like this Emerson over here that I will show you just in a second. So when I do get around to rewiring this Robbins and Myers, I will be going through the gearbox, going through that oiling cup, and rewiring and then cleaning. I will not be painting this one. I might polish the brass or find somebody that can polish it for me. But this fan is in too good of original condition to repaint or refinish, because it is just a gorgeous fan. The switches work beautiful. So the Robbins and Myers is not going to be messed with anymore today. So let me get that put aside, and we'll get to working on our project. This 1936 Emerson. All right, here is our project for today. The Emerson, so what was that model again? This is a 73646, and this is a 1936. So I'm actually going to be rewiring this one also, but I will not be showing precise steps on that, because I do have a very in-depth disassembly, rewiring, and reassembly video. You can check that out in the description. I will put a link to a playlist that you can watch if you want to. It's kind of long, but it is very detailed and showing a step-by-step process on disassembly, rewiring, and reassembly. But our project right now is the gearbox. Like I was showing earlier. Camera down a little bit. Sorry about that. This is the oiling port. That silver cap is the oiling port that I was talking about right there. And it's spring loaded. So when you have your zoom spout oil, since this fan doesn't have an oil cup under the fan, so you get your zoom spout oil, put your little straw in there, get you some in there, and then close the window, and then you turn your fan on, and then it's oiled. And it's starting to rain, so you might hear some raindrops. I'm in my storage building right now. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud. So let's get the gearbox off. First thing I would do, let me loosen up the pivot screw. Actually, let me go ahead and take the blade off. Not blade, the cage. Taking the cage off will help in having more room. And to show you exactly what I'm doing, I don't need to lose that little cap. Okay. There we go. I put my screws and hardware in there so I don't lose them. Okay, the cage is off. One thing I like to do when I'm getting my fans and I'm doing the initial servicing like I am with this, what I like to do is if it's not too involved, I like to take off the front of the motor and then take out the rotor. Mostly so I can inspect the insides and to see what everything looks like. I have actually tested this fan. I believe I have a video on this one when I just got it, or shortly after I got it. I will put, if I have that, I will put the link in the description also. But I like to take apart the front of the motor, take the rotor out, and get a really good look at it. And these Emersons are interesting because the rotor is actually screwed on. Not the rotor, the fan is actually screwed on. So let me get my flashlight back out and see if I can find, the pinpoint. There we go. Look at a flashlight in, looking at the back of the rotor, see if I can find a little slot that I can put my pick in, or a flathead in, and I just found one. There we go. And I did that so I can hold the rotor still. You don't want to put too much force on it. If this doesn't come out easily, I don't want to damage anything. There we go. Couldn't remember which way it actually took off, so And there it is. Unscrewed, everything inside there looks okay, and we'll set that aside. And this is a different mechanism from what I'm used to seeing in my other Emerson. I'm pretty sure that unscrews to take the rotor out. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're taking these old fans apart is they usually have fiber washers, and they are fragile, and you don't want to be too rough with them. Now let me see if I can not being too rough right here, just seeing if I can break that loose, because I do think that does screw on, but I'm not going to worry about that right now because I don't want to mess it up. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. I believe this helps with the oiling and helps distribute the oil throughout the center shaft. So this is very important to make sure you keep and do not lose it. And this shaft right here is going back into the gearbox right here. So let's go ahead and get the gearbox off. This has 3 screws holding it to the motor. All right, I have a proper flathead now. There we go. Just very tight. It's probably never been apart before. Okay. And the oscillation screw that connects it to the base. Tilt that forward so I can grab that easier. Now these threads are oftentimes reversed. So this is a left-hand thread. Actually, that is a normal thread. But sometimes the oscillation arm screw is left-hand thread, so you do have to watch out for that, so you don't break anything. Okay, let me get this back up. There we go. And it looks like there is a damage. I'm not sure if I did that or if it was already like that. I probably damaged it, but there is a fiber washer right here. It does still have some kind of shape to it, so I will be reusing that. But that is very nasty. Once again, there are fiber washers on here. You do have to be careful. There's one up at the motor that's still there. So let me go ahead and carefully grab that one off. Okay. Whew. This is just for my reference. There are 2 fiber washers at the back and 1 at the front. Your fan might be different. You have to make sure of your own fan to make sure that it has the fiber washers in the same locations. But I'm just using the paper towel to wipe it off, get all that old nasty cruddy grease out. I'm going to very thoroughly clean this in a little bit. I'm going to turn our attention to the gearbox. The main thing I do is disassemble to get access to the gears. where I can take everything out and clean and lubricate. There you go. And this, like I said, this fan has probably never been apart. So this is most likely the original grease in this thing. Once these 3 screws are out, once again, this is just on this Emerson. Other fans will have different means to take apart. Sometimes it will just be a little cover that can come off the top, and then you can clean out or refill the grease. But this one, you have to take off 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3, to remove it from the fan, and then 1, 2, and 3 to take the gearbox apart. And if you use a little flathead, and be careful not to damage any of the gears inside. Actually, let me use this pick right here to spread it a little bit further, and there we go. Like I said, there are fiber washers in here. You do have to be careful. And what looks to be a little piece of gear is probably just old cruddy grease that is caked on literally everywhere. Let me feel this real quick just to make sure. And there is another fiber washer in here, so you do have to be careful with that. Yeah, this is just old grease that has solidified. There's a fiber washer right here that looks like there might be a couple of them. Yeah, there is a little stack of them right here, so you have to be careful. You don't want to lose these. If you lose these, your fan is not going to be working right. It might work, but it might wear out very, very quickly because it doesn't have the same spacing on the gears as it used to. This grease is all solidified. You can see it cracked, and it's not moving. It's not going in places that it actually should. So all of this has got to be cleaned out. In fact, let me get so I can show you how easy this stuff comes out when it's all crusty like that. Sometimes it comes out in massive clumps, and sometimes there are actually still liquid grease in here. All right, now I have my job cut out for me. See if that pulls out. Yes, that pulls out. Another little gear right there. It doesn't look like it has any fiber washers under there. So there's that gear. This one's connected to the base right here, so I probably will not be taking this gear off. Yeah, see how caked on that is? There is a little bit of green on this brass, so there may have been water in here at some point. Base is rusty, so it could have sat out, this fan could have sat outside for a little bit. There is a couple of screws on here, so let me actually see if I can take this off. Just loosening these screws a little bit. There we go. Let's see if this thing pulls off. Yes, nice. And once again, there is a fiber washer. I think, yeah. There is a fiber washer right here, so you don't need to lose these. And there we go. You see those coils right there? That is for the grease distribution to make sure the oscillation moves like it should. Got some more big nasty chunks. Now what I'm going to do now, since I have all my parts, I'm not going to worry about cleaning this because that is on the outside. I'm going to take this gear and that gear, I think that was it, and this right here, get all these cleaned up, and the housing. I'm gonna get all these cleaned up and I will be right back. All right, I have these very clean now. I just use some solvent because this is just these are metal gears. Sometimes these older fans, I believe, can have a composite or some kind of polymer gears, so you might want to be careful with what solvent you use. But I got as much of the crusty grease off as I could. I think I pretty much got all of it off. I'm not worried about this green discoloration and corrosion right there because it's not bad. And all I'm going to you don't have to polish these gears. You don't have to make them shine, because all they're going to be doing is going right back in that gearbox, and you're going to be packing it with grease. So they don't have to be super clean, super spotless, and shining, because all they're going to do is be getting dirty again. But let's go back together with it. And what I like to use is this Lucas Red and Tacky multi-purpose grease. This is a very good stuff. Here's go look at the inside of it right there. Just a big tube of it. You can probably find this in a traditional little bucket tube, or whatever you want to call it, about this size. So I'm going to use a flathead to get some of the grease on here. Well, actually, let me, yeah, oh yeah. Sometimes you just have to use your fingers. Make sure I'm in frame there. Yeah, might have been out of frame a little bit, but sorry. There's no scientific method or anything to it. Just pack it full with grease. Actually, while I got that, let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and get this base put back on. See which side it was. Don't want to lose that fiber washer. Putting that fiber washer back on. There you are. Alright, we'll get that tight. And tighten that one back up because I didn't have to loosen that one. There we go. There's one piece to the puzzle. There we go. Another piece. There is plenty of cavity in here to handle all this grease, so don't be afraid to lather it on there. Now what I'm going to do is put this in here. Actually, let me just dip that. There you go, put that washer back on. And that's it. There's the gearbox filled with grease again, and if we were just going back together with it, we would put that back in. But I'm going to be rewiring this, so let me get that done, and then I will be back once I'm back to this stage. I did want to show y'all something real quick. This front piece right here, with the gearbox on, it'll have that shaft sticking out. With everything out, I was able to fit a crescent wrench over here, and very gently, I didn't put too much force at one time, but very gently I rotated it to the left or counterclockwise, and this piece come right off. And once again, you have fiber washers, so don't lose these. Alright, some time has passed and the fan is now rewired and ready to go. On these Emersons, they have a very unique finish that is very durable. The finish on these fans is, I believe it's called a Japanning finish. This is a very resilient, and I need to silence my phone so y'all don't hear my messages. Sorry about that. The coating is very resilient to the point where you can even use acetone to clean it up, which is what I did with this one, and it came out very nice. I didn't spend a lot of time cleaning, but it's a lot better than it was, and everything works. All the speeds works, and I cannot wait to get it back together. So we are going back with the gearbox. Remembering that we have all of our fiber washers in place. Let me go ahead and put a little bit of drop of oil on that. There we go. A little bit more than a drop, but it's fine. Actually, let me put some on this shaft all the way so it's oiled and good. There we go. That screw did not want to go in there. Couldn't get the thread started, but it's in. Got some oil on the base. Let me wipe that off. Now for the spring, it does have a slot on the end that matches up with the spring. There we go. Now let me find that hole again. Back side. There you are. that blade back on. Sorry about that. There's my alarm. You got to get it set into the oscillation gear. It looks like it is set in there. Trying to find that spot again. Come on. There. There we go. That is spinning very beautifully. Let me get the cage back on and plug it in and enjoy the fruits of our labor. And there we have it. It is rewired and serviced. This is a very extensive servicing session, but it's all done. Now, complete with an original style or antique looking plug. Let me plug it in. Make sure it's off. It's off. I will put a little bit extra grease or oil in the oiler right there, just because we have had it completely apart. There we go. I oiled up the shaft good and then put some oil in there. So there's low. Medium. And high. And that clicking sound you heard extra was some speakers that I have up here. They're picking up some of the electrical interference from the or the electrical switches from the fan. Now let's put it back on high and then look at the oscillation. Trying to keep that wind off the camera so I don't have too much wind noise. And another Emerson is under my belt. I do have another one that is an Emerson pedestal fan, I believe from the mid to late 1940s. I'm not sure when I'm going to be getting around to that one, but will definitely be coming. Get you turned around on me. There we go. But yeah, there it is. There's how you service your antique fan. I didn't show the rewiring because I've already covered that in another video. You can check it out in the description if you wanted to. Yeah, there it is. There's the servicing, how to service your fan. Some of the stuff, some of the steps I've taken may not completely apply to your fan. It just depends on how it's built and how you can take it apart. And if you can't take out the gears like I did with this one, if you can't take them all out or any of them out safely or within your own means, within your own comfort zone, just clean it out as best you can. I've actually used Q-tips for digging out some of the old grease on some of my fans. But yeah, just clean it out as best you can and then fill it with some fresh grease, and fresh grease will mix with the old stuff and kind of rejuvenate it a little bit. But it is good to try to get as much out as you can, so when you put fresh in, it'll last longer. But there it is. If you liked the video, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.